my children, and welcome to the Generation 10 podcast, weekly show with Gen X, Y, and Z talking about whatever stuff with a guest. If you're watching on YouTube, please note the beam of light shining through our logo. I'm Atlas Novak. I'm your millennial. Who else is with me?
I'm Dino, the genetic marvel, and I'm your Gen Xer.
And back with us this week, it is John D Ruddy, the YouTuber. How are you, good sir?
Hello from Ireland. I am good. Enjoying the wonderful sunlight shining from the heavens.
It's like one out of 3 days a year that you get full sunshine, and we got it. So
yeah. I know, right? No, I'm good. Kept busy. Still. So basically, so many of my projects have been on hiatus for the last year while I've been renovating my house, because while we renovate our house, we're living in here, and so I can't.
What is in here?
In here is my. Can I show you? And this is not great for people listening, but for people. There's nothing incriminating in here, I don't think. This is our living space. This is the bed. This will ultimately be, it's in wonderful condition.
It's some sort of tree fort, essentially. Is what
pretty much. But yeah, no. This was an old stone shed, over 100 years old, and we basically built a wooden shell inside it, timber frame with 5 inches of insulation. And
how thick is the stone? How thick is the stone wall?
Oh, the stone wall is 2 feet thick.
Okay, so where my mom is from in Greece is called Florina, which is it's in the border of Albania and I guess what now is Macedonia, way up in the corner. But there, the original part of their house is old, like that shed is, and it's the same thing where it's stone. It's about 2 feet wide of stone.
Yeah,
but you're like it's incredibly resilient to everything. So interesting.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Like our house inside is the downstairs of it is like what was an old thatched cottage. So it's fabulous.
Did it get burninated by Trogdor or?
Yeah. Do you know what? Funnily enough, I drew Trogdor about 2 days ago. There was something had popped up. There's a video, and it was like old reminiscent things from the olden days of the internet. And Trogdor was on it, and oh my god, like when I was 19, I loved Trogdor, and I drew him everywhere. I was like, I haven't drawn Trogdor in ages, so I drew Trogdor.
Every time I make a Homestar Runner reference, I owe Dino $1. So I'm not sure what the exchange rate is between you.
That's $1 for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I discovered Trog because I didn't even know Homestar Runner existed back in the 2000s. But what brought Trogdor to me was Guitar Hero 2. And
right, because they have it in there as like a bonus track. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So I was just like, what is this song? This is hilarious. And then later discovered that it was completely a thing. I was like, this is hilarious.
My cousin showed me Homestar Runner in 2004 or something.
The halcyon days.
Yeah. So it was like she was visiting, and this is before YouTube. YouTube comes out in 2005, right? So,
yeah. This Newgrounds.
Newgrounds, E-Bombs World. Flash cartoons. So she showed me Homestar Runner, and then now it's roughly a third of my sense of humor. So,
it's so funny.
Thanks, cousin Olivia, for ruining me.
It's funny, the amount of those little things that stay in your mind, salad fingers as well.
Yeah,
it's just this thing that you see, and anytime I say I see, always in my mind it always follows. Then I must leave. I see. Then I must leave. And it's just like, what? And sometimes I even forget what it is. It's, oh, yeah, that's salad fingers. Hello there, young child. I wondered if you could be interested in rusty spoons. It's just bizarre.
Hockey.
Hockey.
So, Here's the Earth.
Oh dear.
I'm sorry, Dino.
See, this is where we need our Gen Zer in here to go, guys. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
It's really. I think. Yeah, Caleb just needs to be here just so.
Talking about old guys shit.
No, it's not. But not really. It's a weird kind of. I remember Homestar Runner. And I was like, oh, that was funny. And then I just logged it in the back of my mind, and I never went back again. Every once in a while, I was like, what was that? Oh, right. Because my fondest memory of Homestar Runner was his video where he's like, this is a website.
Yeah.
It's Bienvenida a Homestar Runner. And you're like, that's hilarious. But apparently it kept on going after I saw it and became quite the thing. So
Homestar10.net. It's .com.
Like you, John, every once in a while I'll go, it's .com. And I'm like, it's just fantastic.
Yeah. It just came out of my nose. God damn it.
Nice. Oh, what's really funny, actually, I was listening to, this was years ago now, but I had on the audio commentaries for Game of Thrones, but always each episode would be like either you'd have the directors of one episode or then they'd group some of the actors together, but there'd always be one episode per season, at least in the early seasons when they still gave a shit about the show, where they had
around that,
where they had the 3 Stark kids doing an audio commentary. And of course in season 1 like they're still kids, so here's these 3 preteens doing an audio commentary, and it's like,
what I'm doing here, sir, is you're gonna.
Because like they just start off and like first of all they sing through the entire Game of Thrones thing. They're like da 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 da, and then they're just like giggling and laughing and going, "Oh my god, I remember when we did this." But then they start trailing off at one point, and they're like, "Oh my god, have you seen Salad Fingers? Oh yeah, Isaac hasn't seen Salad Fingers. We need to show him Salad Fingers." And
oh my god.
and this is like 2010, 2011, and it's just like, "Oh, that's so cute." There, these even then, you know, these Gen Zers are sitting there going, "Oh, I would watch Salad Fingers."
Oh my god,
that's really funny.
And I was like, I remember when Salad Fingers began.
You merely adopted the Salad Fingers.
Young summer child.
I did not see YouTube until I was already a man. Yeah.
By then it was blinding.
Yeah. Actually, by that point I was like 11 or 12 when
I was going
YouTube
through my first divorce.
No, it's not the time for Bane references. That comes later.
All right. Well, why don't we ask John the questions?
Sure.
That first one, which is, what is an embarrassing song from your playlist?
Oh God, I have several. Last time I talked about the entire discography of mouth sounds from Neil Cicierega, but this time it's something that people will be more familiar with and will be like, I know that, as opposed to this randomly obscure thing. But it has slowly but surely been working its way into my mind, and that is Phantom of the Opera.
That's
so
fair.
Just like the soundtrack from Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah,
great soundtrack.
I mean, so a little bit of backstory. So I mean, growing up, I grew up in quite a musical house, and like my sisters were into musicals, my parents were into musicals, and there was a show in Ireland that was on every year in the early 90s, throughout the 80s, early 90s, called Tops of the Town, where it was like different community theater groups would put together variety shows and compete against each other, and whoever got it was awesome. Cool. And whoever got to the final, I'm shocked that they still don't do it, because it's a great thing. But it was always called the John Player Tops, because it was, you know, back in the day when cigarettes could sponsor things, and hey, it was effective because I still remember John Player, and I always think of John Player in a good light, because I'm like, the hits from the musicals.
When you had a hard day, John Player's there for you.
That's smoking kills, kids. Smoking kills. Do not start. But yeah, there was a section on it where they did a medley from Broadway, and they had like Phantom of the Opera in it. So that was my kind of first thing, and it always kind of always rolled my eyes at it, and I was always like, ugh, Phantom of the Opera. And
Mhm.
for years, that was very much my thing. And, you know, there are plenty of people who continue to roll their eyes at Phantom of the Opera, and also
true.
fairly so. But I have been slowly but surely worn down by, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Musical Splaining podcast. Shout out to Angie and Cave on the Musical Splaining podcast. They have been, them and Lindsay Ellis have been talking about Phantom for years now. And like Lindsay Ellis has been talking about Phantom for years. You know, she's been dropping it in here and there. And as the years have gone on, and as she has owned it more and more publicly, at least, they talk about it more and more, and it's kind of a center staple of that podcast where all roads lead back to Phantom, where they always end up comparing things or talking about Phantom in some way. And I was in London a couple of weeks ago, and I was there for work, but I had one day free, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go see some musicals, and I went to see Hamilton, which was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But I also was like, I'm going to go see Phantom just to see what all the fuss is about.
Fair.
Yeah.
And having watched it, and it was a bit like, you know, at the end of, it was one of the seasons of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where Mac does the big dramatic dance to explain to, what's his name, Danny DeVito, how it feels to be gay. And it's this absolutely stunning, sublime dance. And at the very end of it, Danny DeVito's just sitting there. He's like, oh my God, I get it. And that was me at the end of Phantom, where I was just like, I get why people love this. I get it. I mean, it was like, don't get me wrong, it was still complete trash. But it was the finest of trash. It was so good.
Episode title.
It was so cheesy. It was, but not only that, but I mean, that being said, like, it's Andrew Lloyd Webber. The music just hits you, and that, and even though I had heard that opening overture before, and I did love that opening overture before that, but oh my God, seeing it live, I started streaming tears. I was like, oh, this is affecting me. Oh my God. And like the chandelier rises up. And I'm like, this is amazing. And the entire set starts coming to life and building itself on the stage. And I'm like, I was like, this is, it was so cool. And then later, you know, when it gets to the actual song, Phantom of the Opera, and they're going deeper into it. And even though I already knew a lot of the features of it, like the candles rising up, but it was like watching a 1980s glam rock music video live. It was just so cool.
Yeah.
And so that's been floating around my playlist for quite some time now, you know, inside my mind. Oh dear. So thanks to Angelina Meehan and Lindsay Ellis and Kaveh Taharian. Even though he hates the show, I'm still holding him accountable.
At the time of recording this, like, there's not all that many episodes. Like, yeah, there's like a decent backlog, but I don't know, like 40 episodes looks like around, because they don't number them after the first 20 or so. But that seems like something you could binge over a weekend, or
musical splaining. Oh yeah, completely. It's so like,
or just do the ones you like, right?
Yeah, well, that's it too. Like, you can kind of pick and choose if there's a particular show that you're interested in, and then on top of that, well, I always feel really bad for them. So like, they started it right at the start of 2020. And you know, and so the whole idea was, they were like, right, this is great. This is going to give us, you know, an excuse to go to New York for a weekend and just see shows the whole time. And we're there for work, but we can also record a podcast, and it's brilliant. And then the pandemic just locked right in.
Then the world ended.
so I feel really bad for them. They did manage to get out and see a couple more shows, but they had to rejig a lot of the format. But they'll get back to it eventually, and I do look forward to them going out and seeing actual shows again.
That's fair.
Makes sense. So, second one.
Great turns. Segue is fantastic. I love it.
Smooth.
What's something you like to do because you're a grown up and no one can stop you?
This may sound really boring, but I suppose that's part of being a grown up as well, because grown ups are boring as shit. I love going on long drives. I love just going. I first discovered this like when I first learned to drive, when I first began to drive, where I was just like, I've always wondered where this road led. Let's find out.
Yeah.
And so I would just go and just drive around, and I mean, and Ireland is so good for that because there are just so many roads, so many back roads, and so many places that very few people will have driven past, and it's stunning. Like, you know, just so many gorgeous places. So much so that I keep track of. Anybody watching on YouTube, you can actually see it. I have a big map up on my wall where I mark off all of the roads that I have been on in Ireland, and it's a great way to keep track because I can then see where I haven't been, and so I know right next time I'm down in Cork, I'm doing that road, I'm doing that road, I'm doing that road. But it's just wonderful.
That map is going to be Exhibit A when they find out that you're a serial killer. Okay, John.
I know.
Oh my God.
I was thinking of that too. Not so much as a serial killer, but like there were a couple of Game of Thrones locations when I did. I worked as an extra on a couple episodes of Game of Thrones, and there are a couple of ones where I do have marked on the map, but I was like, technically. This there'd be all sorts of kind of NDA stuff, but like at this stage of the game, I was actually I was very sad to see. So there was the set of Winterfell had been sitting in a field since the show finished, like years ago now. It had been sitting in a field just off the main road between Derry and Belfast, like literally 5 minutes just off the main road. And I knew where it was so anytime I would be driving from Derry to Belfast, I'd always turn off and go and see if it was still there. And as the years went on and HBO moved on, they kind of took away a lot of the barriers and stuff because they used to have big things blocking out the road view from it. But eventually, you know, you'd be just driving past and like, there's Winterfell. Hello. And then, but very sadly, earlier this year, it burnt down, and so it was all cleared away.
Burnt down.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if that was on purpose because it would make it a lot easier to clear out.
They needed B-roll. That's they just needed.
Oh dear, yeah.
Yeah,
but yeah, hitting the open road because like Ireland has so much coast as well. I did a road trip. There's a wonderful road trip that you can do. It is 2,400 kilometers long, so it's about 1,500 miles long.
Not bad.
It's called the Wild Atlantic Way, and it starts down in Cork and goes the whole way along the entire west coast of Ireland. And it took me, we did it in about 10 days, but it was stunning. Highly recommended to anybody traveling to Ireland. It's you know, because like it's so handy, you know, they're all just public roads and you just drive along and enjoy the view.
Is there a good is there a lot of resources on that road trip? Like, is there a lot of stations and hotels?
Ireland is like, that's a funny thing. In Ireland, you're never too far from. You know, it's not like the depths of Canada where, you know, once you go beyond this place, there's no coming back.
Get gas here or you're fucked.
Exactly. There's none of that. Like I remember Bear Grylls did an episode in Ireland where it was like, oh, if you get lost out in the bogs, and he found a dead sheep and covered himself in it, and he was like, oh, you know, and it was like, dude, just keep walking that way. You'll hit a road, and someone will drive past eventually.
I feel like if you're covered in a dead sheep, it's probably going to be a harder sell to get the guy to stop for help.
Keep going.
Yeah. There's a guy in a dead sheep. Drive.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like he was backlit by a McDonald's or something. Just
Yeah, I know.
He's like sneaking around wearing the sheep, and you're like, I don't think that's how real life works, man. Don't
move the camera. Eyes on me. Don't move it over here. Don't move it over here.
If you were to now, have you guys invested in like massive highways, or is it still mostly just 2-lane? Because I know like Greece went through that transition about 10 years ago, which is a nightmare. But it made long term further travel that was usually like around 10 hours down to like 5, which is a huge difference for people who drive.
Yes, so we do have a network of motorways. Most of them, they're essentially highways, two lane.
Okay.
4 lanes, going
two each way.
Yeah. And but most of them lead to Dublin. All roads lead to Dublin when it comes to Ireland. And you can travel 120 kilometers on those. So like all of the major routes are there. So like driving from here up in Donegal down to Dublin, be about 3.5 hours.
Okay.
Driving from here over to Belfast, which is they're actually building a much better road now between Derry and Belfast. I can't wait for it to be open. It's going to be so good.
Yeah.
Like there are loads of decent roads as well.
Okay, good. Because that's one of the big issues I know. Like in the States, is horrendous for. As soon as you leave the toll road, that's the massive like interstate type highway. When you're traveling, you leave that. There's a certain part where you're going, oh, these roads haven't been maintained at all. Yeah. And you're like, and it just falls apart. But then you go to other areas and you're like, no, it's all good. And you're like, it's a wealth disparity type thing.
Yeah. So most of the roads, even so like there's different grades of roads. There's like the motorways, and then you've got national roads, which you can travel up to 100 kilometers on. And then you've got regional roads, which are generally kind of 80 kilometers and below.
Right.
But they're all maintained by like a government kind of council authority, or at least most of them are. So if there is particularly bad potholes, someone will eventually come and fill it. But I do remember there was one time years ago now, which did make me much more cautious on just going, let's see where this little back road goes. It was just outside of a town called Castlefin here in Donegal. And I went up this hill, and along the top of the hill, there were like these really deep potholes. So much so, like it almost kind of felt like the car was kind of dipping down into them. I was like, oh, that ain't good. And but I was like, well, I don't want to turn around and go back through that. So I kept going, and I got to the other side of the hill, and it was this steep, not a road, a friggin' gully going down. And I was just like I was already on it at this stage. I was like, okay. And like I was like slowly but surely like just steering to make sure that I didn't bottom out in the car, because like there was literally a stream carved through the middle of this excuse of a road. Yeah. And then eventually got to the bottom. And I'd only been driving, I think maybe about a year at this stage. So like,
God,
it was recent. That's impressive. And so I got to the bottom of the hill, and I was like, oh, well, thank God I don't have to go back up there.
Yes,
and then I look ahead, and the road ahead dipped down and was completely waterlogged.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, bollocks. I'm going to have to go back up this hill. So I do a 3-point turn or a fucking 10-point turn.
Yeah.
And
like Austin Powers in the hallway.
Yeah, exactly. But the road was made of fucking gravel. And halfway across the road, and I was like, shit, I'm going to have to admit defeat. And so I was like, right, well, I'm just going to have to get out and walk to the nearest farm.
Oh,
So now again, thankfully, this is Ireland. You're never too far from somewhere.
Yeah.
But still, then I go walking for about 10 minutes, and then the first house I see is empty. I'm like, great, thanks, guys. So on over, there's a big old farm. I was like, right, well, farms will have tractors and stuff. They'll be fine. And so I go walking down this big long driveway, and there's this huge big dog at the bottom barking. I was like, oh, dude, I am not in the mood for this. Just kept walking at him, and he's like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I was like, no, you stay there, thank you very much. And then went and knocked on the front door. Front door opens, only to have a Great Dane come out. And I'd never seen a Great Dane up close. Apparently, they're the exact same as seeing them from far away. They're fucking huge.
it's like a little horse, yeah.
Yeah, and thankfully they were able to. There was a guy, he had a big Jeep, and he was able to come and
Tell you.
and tow me out, or well, at least tow me to the point where my car was free, and then I had to drive back up the hill myself. So drove, and I say rode very generously. This was a gully where, and literally, like my car was just like just kind of working its way, and of course, it's all manual as well. We drive stick, and so like just sitting there in first gear, like just don't stall. And it was a little mountain goat, and I was so proud of my little Toyota Yaris.
Well done, Toyota Yaris.
Yeah, it was so good. I bought another one a couple of years later, and I'm still driving that one.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that was an adventure. I'll tell you, John, that was an adventure.
And I've never been on that road ever since.
Yeah, I don't blame you. That's
that's and you know what? Just for people listening to with that drive, you said for 22, you said around 22 or 2,400 kilometers. Goes along the thing. Like, yeah, that's an adventure. Like that is an entire vacation, people. Like that's not like when we went for our honeymoon, we went to Greece, and in about 8 days we drove 2,150.
Oh yeah,
and that was all over Greece. It wasn't over the course, just going here and that, right, all over the place. And we had many adventures of, I have no idea where we are. Let's just keep driving and see what happens.
I did that in
I'm
Greece
lucky that I have a good sense of direction, but those for sure, easily.
I had a moment in Greece where we got completely lost. Me and my wife got completely lost, and it was January. And we had gone to, where did we go? Yeah, we drove from Athens all the way up as far as what was it called? Over the Temple of Apollo, Delphi.
Yes.
Drove up to Delphi, and that was amazing. And then we drove beyond there, because I wanted to drive up to Thermopylae and see where the Battle of the 300 Spartans and all that was.
I have pictures. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool, and the smell of the hot springs. Ugh. But yeah, there was one point where we got lost going up this mountain road, and I was like, I don't think we should. Well, sorry, I didn't say that. My wife said that. I don't think we should be on this road, and I'm like, let's just see where it goes. It has to come out somewhere.
Oh no. And then
you're in Greece, sir. No, it doesn't.
And as we were going higher and higher in altitude up the mountains, the roads were getting icier and icier. Yeah. And Genius John was like, I'm kind of curious now. Let's see where it goes.
Are you part mountain goat?
Ultimately, yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Ultimately. And of course, I'm driving on the wrong side of the road, like, for me. So like, I'm driving in what I'm not used to either.
Yeah.
And so ultimately we get to the creepiest abandoned village.
Oh,
yeah, that's fair.
Locked in winter with this one solitary dog standing there going, what the fuck are you doing here? And we were both going, we don't know what the fuck we're doing. We're turning around. That's what we're doing. It's like, did a horror movie happen up here? is this act one of a horror movie or is this the epilogue of a horror movie? Because
It's
they're
the
two
epilogue,
very different things.
Yeah.
Are we the people who showed up going, wow, what happened here? Or are we the people showing up going, we're next? Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ultimately, I took a picture of one of the signs because, of course, it was all Greek to me. But I took a picture of the sign to see about translating it. And apparently it was like a little hunting village.
Oh, okay.
That they kind of populate during the summer, and then in the winter they
And leave the dog there? That's so mean.
No, it'll be a stray. It'll just there are animals throughout the wild, but there's a huge stray cat and dog population throughout Greece, right? Like, it's just, but
Kind of like LA has a coyote thing.
To keep down the dogs and cats.
Yeah, pretty much. But I mean, like, coyotes are just kind of fucking everywhere, so it's like a less extreme version of that.
I saw some coyotes in LA.
Yeah. There you go.
They're called cougars in LA, John, but that's so. John, just an idea is you like horror movies, yes? You're a fan of okay, so let's do kind of like a House of a Thousand Corpses. Does every country in the world, because it seems like every story you're telling us is the start of a House of a Thousand Corpses type story.
I know, right?
And then you're like, and then we just turned around and drove home, and you're like, what just happened? Oh my god, how are you not murdered? This has been just the highlight of my day. I'm just starting out.
And Ireland's a great place to shoot a horror movie. I'm actually working on a screenplay. I can't really tell you much about it, but I'm working on a screenplay that is a horror movie based in Ireland.
This is so great. So, John, you've done some acting and that kind of stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
How do you find the resources are for developing things like that? Like, Atlas is in the den of horrible morals in LA, so it's a different thing for him. But you're not necessarily in the hub of entertainment. So, for yourself, how do you find their resources and that kind of stuff?
It's very hit and miss. There are resources, but they are very carefully divided out and very tricky to get. And unfortunately, with regards to the Irish film industry, so much of it is centered around Dublin, and the kind of greater Dublin area. So, like, as an actor living in Donegal, it's not a barrier for me, but it's a barrier for other people where they're like, oh, he lives in Donegal. And I'm like, no, don't worry about me. I can be in Dublin. That's a me problem. That's not a you problem.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you're already a personality, right? You're no longer a real person. You only exist on the internet now. So that's fine.
Exactly. Like, there is the Donegal Film Office who they concentrate a lot on kind of bringing productions to Donegal, and also trying to stimulate and generate
tourism.
Homegrown film industry stuff, because there are so many workers here. There are so many, lighting technicians, sound technicians, and cinematographers, and all sorts of things. So it's just a case of getting all of the people together, and also, of course, getting the funding to actually pay people, because we don't. I mean, you can do it for fun, but fun doesn't pay the bills.
No. Well. Tell that to prostitution, but that's sorry, that's a bad joke.
I don't think they always enjoy it. Call them sex workers. They're sex workers.
That's
we're in the 21st century. They're sex workers. But no,
I am not in the 21st century. Let's be honest.
Clearly. But no, and because Donegal has, we had the filming of Star Wars: The Last Jedi. A little bit of that. They shot a lot of that along the west coast of Ireland. All the bits where Luke is training Rey, and it would, like, the weekend that happened was just hilarious, because like it's up at Ireland's most northerly point, up in Malin Head, and I didn't tell the story last time, did I? No, I don't think so. So like this was the summer of 2016. And they got they'd shut off the entire kind of northern little road that because it works in a loop that leads up to Malin, and so they shut that off. But in the week leading up to it, of course, they were all up there kind of building stuff, and so loads of people, including myself, kind of drove up and were curious. And there, out on the coast, on the horizon, there was sitting the Millennium Falcon, and it was just like, that's the Millennium Falcon. That's shit go. And like there'd been rumors for ages, even before it was officially announced, that Star Wars was coming. Particularly kind of amongst folks in the industry, where we'd be talking and kind of going, "Oh yeah, so did you hear? Yeah, it's coming." A friend of mine, D Ruddy, she works for the Donegal film office, and she was pretty much the reason why it came to Donegal. Why Star Wars came to Donegal, because whenever the location scouts were coming to Ireland, Donegal wasn't on the schedule, and Aideen was like, "Hello, they need to come to Donegal," and they're like, "Oh, we don't have time for it." She's like, "I will literally charter a helicopter and bring them to Donegal." And they're like, "All right, well, if you can make it work, make it work." And she chartered a helicopter and she brought Lucasfilm up to Donegal. And they were like, "Do you know what? This is amazing. We should shoot here." And they're like, "I know, right?" But yeah, then the weekend that they finished shooting, a couple of my cousins own a hotel close by there, and I had given them a heads up ages ago, going, so because I'd been playing gigs in their pub for ages, myself and my friend Niall. Shout out Niall McDonough. Hi, I miss you so much, Niall. He lives in New Zealand. He's abandoned me. But he was my best man at my wedding. But me and Niall, we played in a two-piece band called Tasty, and we
it's a great band name.
Oh yeah. And it was the Sunday afternoon. Myself and my dad had just gone to see Captain America: Civil War. Fantastic. And I came out of that only to see a whole pile of missed calls on my phone. I was like, what? And rang Niall, and he was like, "Yeah, no, the gig is a go. They want us to come up." So we went up to McGrory's of Kildaff, which is the hotel that my mother grew up in, and we set up in the bar and started playing, and we and as we started playing, this little guy comes in to sit down and get a bite to eat, who turns out was Ryan Johnson, sitting there casually eating his dinner, going, "Oh, this music's pretty good." And as the evening went on, more and more of the crew, because loads of the crew were staying there, and they were all coming in, piling in. And we were just like, "This is freaking brilliant." Eventually, Daisy Ridley was in. She was dancing away. Got a photo with her. And it was such a fun... We ended up playing for like about 4 hours. And, wow. But towards the end, like, because usually we play like 2.5 hours maybe. And like, I just have a whole pile of sheets of our different songs and stuff and all the chords and stuff. But, we would just go through each one, and usually we'd be like, "All right, yeah, we'll skip that one." But we literally played every single sheet that we had. We were like, "Oh, we haven't played this in 2 years. Let's do it." But towards the end of the gig, we got, it was like, "Right, folks, we're coming up to the last couple of songs, and this one now goes out to you." And so within the band, Niall plays guitar and I play the trumpet. And as we sat there, I was like, "This is literally the only time I'm ever going to be able to do this at a gig, and people will appreciate it." So I was like, "Right, folks, this one is dedicated to yourselves." And the whole place just erupted. They're like, "Yes!" And it was just hilarious. And everyone was just like, "Yes, this is the reason why we're here." It was brilliant. Such a brilliant night. And that was that. And what was hilarious was there was a guy, his name was Leo. He was one of Ryan Johnson's assistants. He came up just afterwards, going, "Guys, that was amazing. We need to get you over for the actual rap party in London in a couple of months." And I was just like, "Yeah, cool." Like this was at the end of a very drunken night, and I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." But I was like, he gave me his email address. And he's like, "Email me about it." I was like, "Fair enough." And so the next day, he emailed him back, just going, "Hey, so I hope the head's okay." And remember you said that you wanted us to play the
rap party?
Rap party? And he was like, yeah. And so he put me in touch with a whole pile of other people. And I mean, every time we got an email back, I text now, I'm like, they still haven't told us to fuck off. We are still technically in talks. And ultimately they were like, "Oh, we've decided to go in another direction." And I was like, "Yeah, there we go. That's more like it." But I was just like, they still haven't told us to fuck off. But ultimately they did, but in a very, very, very polite way.
That's fine.
But that was hilarious.
You have the imposter syndrome didn't fully go away, so it wasn't like painful.
Yeah,
and they finally
fuck off. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I was busy anyway. I had a whole pile of shows that summer anyway, so I was kind of like
easy. Let's not say you were too busy for Star Wars. Let's not say that.
Oh no.
Oh,
I had them warned whenever I was casting the show. I was like, there is the possibility that weekend.
Yeah.
I might have to go and play the rap party for Star Wars.
Yeah. So
probably won't happen, but it might. So I'm just saying I won't be able to get to that rehearsal.
There's a chance.
And then they hear that
Canada,
and go, yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Like,
no. But look, me in Canada who doesn't have a band or play any instruments would say, "Hey, listen, just so you know, the rap party for Star Wars that weekend, I might be busy. I'm waiting on my invitation, so just calm down, just so you know." Okay, so that's whether people believe you or not, it makes no difference. Also, too, when you said we normally play 2.5 hours, but this time we went for 4, I had a hankering feeling that you were like,
"Oh, that play that too.
And then
play that too."
Any requests? Play that same song. Okay. Like that's.
Oh, I totally snuck that one in too. It was like now I went off to get for a piss, and I was just like, "Oh well, I have to play this." So just casually sat there and myself.
You have to. I feel like there's no other option.
Yeah,
I'm surprised that didn't come first, or did it?
No,
you can't do it too early because they'll take you down. They'll be like, "Hey,
exactly,
listen, right?
Yeah.
You got to earn their trust and then betray them. That's how Star Wars
just need
works."
to be more drunk.
It's also true.
Daisy Ridley was lovely. She was really, really nice. Lovely one.
Were any of them like a mean drunk, or?
No, well, cast-wise, she was the only one there. Mark Hamill went to Farron's, which was another pub. I think he was looking for a quiet night. But if ever I meet Mark Hamill, I will tell him how much he missed out that night. He missed out a great night's crack in McGrory's. He'll never get that experience back.
Rip.
His loss. He chose to go to Farron's. Should have gone to McGrory's that night.
That was his last chance. He died. He's done.
The Last Jedi. Come on, man. That was your last chance. No Force Ghost in this shit. You have to go.
Be happy you got a second paycheck at this point, okay? Like, you gotta take what you can get, Mark Hamill. No.
I love Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill's great.
He's one of the greatest Jokers ever.
Yes.
And then all the like outside of Star Wars, he just plays villains most of the time. And
he voiced the Joker in Batman the Animated Series,
and then the Arkham
Asylum.
The Arkham trilogy.
Fire Lord Ozai and the Avatar.
Yes,
series.
that's right.
Yeah,
I always find that.
Guy.
I always find jobs like that, like where he's immortalized as the Fire Lord Ozai, and like literally, it was probably a day's work. I always find that funny. Like when people do voice a character who isn't in the entire show, but like as in like 2 or 3 episodes, but make a huge impact. But like literally, that's probably a day's work.
Less is more, man. That's
But they've gone in and record. Yeah, we'll record that. Cool. Yeah, no, that's
Done.
grand.
Cool. Thanks,
Happy
man.
days. Whatever that show was, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know. And then it's like he is Fire Lord Ozai. I was like, did I do that show?
Yeah.
Knowing Mark Hamill, he probably remembers every single gig that he does because he's
a nice guy, right?
Well, he's a geek, you know. He's one of us, you know.
Yeah.
I hope they have him because, like, okay, do you watch Impractical Jokers? Either of you?
No, I haven't seen it.
So, it's
we're cooler than that.
Definitely.
It's four guys in an improv troupe, and then they're doing stuff like, all right, you have an earpiece and you got to do what the other guys say. If you don't, you lose, that kind of thing.
I don't live on the moon. I know what it is. I just don't watch it.
One of them left between last and this season. So every episode they're getting like a famous person, like Colin Jost was on one, Eric Andre, that kind of thing. I think that'd be cool if they got Mark Hamill for an episode. That'd be, yeah.
So Mark Hamill though, like he's not, because he got in that accident a long time ago, right? So he's got like, yeah, exactly.
Couldn't resist. It was right there.
No, fantastic. But yeah, so he's got a very distinct look to him, right? So, but at the same time, people mostly don't know what he looks like up close either. So, right? And the whole Clark Kent thing, maybe.
I guess it depends on how they would use him, but I think that would be interesting if he pops up because like they have the head writer of SNL. I'm sure they could get Mark Hamill.
Oh, for sure. Well,
yeah.
I wonder which one is harder because like Colin Jost is a comedian and he has to represent himself, right? Also, too, he's got to make money. Otherwise, he's going to start being called Miss Johansson, right? That's fine. It's a great joke, right? It's a good joke, right? Like that's exactly what you would do. But at the same time, like Mark Hamill doesn't have to do anything, right?
That's true.
That was the same with Macaulay Culkin, where he's like, I don't have to do. I can just sit here and play with my kazoo because I'm rich.
Apparently,
Daniel Radcliffe too. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. Yeah.
Apparently, Mark Hamill had in his original contract, which still lasts to this day, that when he signed up for Star Wars, because he was like, well, this is going to, because he was into it. He was one of the only people who was kind of like, I love this schlock.
Yeah.
And he was like, there's going to be toys of this, so would I be able to get a set of the action figures of this movie? And they were like, sure. So they had it in the contract. Now I may be getting this, but I'm pretty sure this is the case, that he got the in the contract it was any action figure that was made based on Star Wars.
So all licensed material here.
So ever after that, they contractually have to send him whatever new Star Wars action figures that come out. So I think he's got like a warehouse somewhere full of all the Star Wars action figures.
Let's like that.
Somebody double check that out there. Prove me wrong, but I think that is the thing.
Can you imagine though realistically, no one expected what happened with toys to happen, right? Like same like
the toy company didn't know. They had to sell empty cardboard boxes for the Christmas of '77, promising kids, "Hey kids, so if you buy this box now, we'll send you the toys later because we haven't made enough for Christmas."
Yeah.
Okay, Kenner. It was genius. It was so smart.
It's the idea that we had no idea. Like I remember it would have been grade 9, so I would have been 14 years old. We did a tour of the Toronto Stock Exchange. So we went for the day, and they had this whole tourist area and everything. And one of the things was, it was this whole thing of all the things that people have invested in it and what was the most profitable. And it turns out, and we're talking now mid 90s, early 90s, and the answer was baseball cards. And you're like, oh my God, because that's still true. You're like, okay, so listen, toys. I need toys. I'll be honest with you. I just did a video, John, and I made this on my thing. So that's
I love it.
And it actually,
Lego?
It's Lego, and it actually transforms as well. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Robots roll out.
It's become a new. Well, I got that for my anniversary with my wife, but I'm like, yeah,
You
I'm
have the
just gonna
coolest wife.
try. It's well now I'm doing. If you can see that up close, you can't because the green
Because
screen.
the green
Oh,
screen.
yeah.
Interesting. No, I'm making the tumbler.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's so far
Very good.
of. Hold on. Let me just show you.
I have a model of the Millennium Falcon, which I have had probably sitting in a box for about 15 years,
Nice.
which I am looking
That's
forward to building eventually. That's pretty cool. That looks cool.
Yeah, my wife got that for me before we got married. That's over 7 years ago. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna build it on the internet, Kenny. She's like, first comment as soon as I started the video, she's like, it's about damn time. I'm like, I love you. Don't leave me.
Yeah.
I'll never love again.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to. So like as I was saying before, a lot of my projects have kind of been on hiatus for the last year while we get in here sorted. But I am so looking forward to not living in here so that I can live in here. And
Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
So that because I have because my output on my YouTube channel has been ish at the moment.
The last thing was the Ukraine.
Yes,
history,
that video
right?
about Ukraine,
Which was fantastic, by the way.
It was.
Thank
great.
you very much. And I have Monarchs of England Part 3 coming out at some point. But again, it's just like every moment that I am not putting into getting that house finished is another moment of not living in there. So I'm just like, I've learned so many skills. I now know how to tile a wall. I now know how to tile a floor. I know how to tape and joint a wall. It's very exciting stuff.
Wow.
But
That
yeah,
definitely
once I
makes
get
sense.
once I get here up and running, I am going to do video game streams. I am going to do art streams. I'm going to do all of the streams, just things that I can sit and relax and have space for.
Yes.
And,
Well, especially when you hand draw every cell. Like that must be so painstaking.
Well, funnily enough, now since 2020, Manny Man has been digital.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
I use a couple of techniques so that it still looks
Hand drawn.
hand drawn, particularly with the colors. I have a couple of little special ways of making it look like it's still colored in with the markers.
Cool.
But yeah, no, that's been. I'm so glad that I went digital when I did because I've really learned a lot, and like part of me was just like, why didn't I do this years ago? I've been learning a lot more about animation and learning a lot of little things. I've been working at the moment. Actually, I'm working on a project called Fido, which is the Irish language for a long time ago or once upon a time. What was I going to say?
Okay, I'm sorry, John. That sounded made up. Okay.
What, Fido?
Yes, that is real. Tell me that's
It
real.
does.
Oh, that's completely real.
Because it sounds made up. And then you pause. I'm like, hey, don't mess with us, man. That's not fair.
Fido. But basically, we've been working with teenagers from different ethnic backgrounds living in Ireland and gathering their stories and animating them. So I have been for the last week and a half, 2 weeks, I've been animating, and for the next week, because we're screening it on the 16th, so it has to be finished by the 16th. So I'm still working on that. Hopefully, future John will be looking at this going, "You got there."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
See, that is a very cool thing. Like I myself am in the same kind of situation without all of your resources, but it's like I'm just trying to figure out. I'm like, what do I want to do? So I'm like, I'm trying Lego and doing other stuff. Where I'm like, after this, I have a review. I'm doing these, and I'm like, listen, which so very obviously should have been Beebs Bites. You went Tim Beebs because you guys are ridiculous. Like immediately you failed, but whatever, that's fine. So. I don't know what to do, John. It's very confusing. Should we go on for the next question since we've
Oh,
completely
yeah.
been sidetracked
May as
with a million different things?
Yeah.
This has been a great conversation, John. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry that we're taking up so much of your time this afternoon.
Not at all. It's fun.
But okay, so what was the time when you were looked at as the adult in a situation? We asked this before, and you
Or
had
felt
a
like an adult. Yeah.
spectacular answer.
So,
I'm glad you rephrased that, because the answer that I had in mind was when I felt like an adult, because it wasn't when I was the adult in the situation. But funnily enough, it was while watching certain films, and when you go back and you watch a film that you grew up with and you realize different things about your life, but specifically the films of Edgar Wright, of the Cornetto trilogy, of watching Shaun of the Dead, but even more so actually going back and watching Spaced, the 2-season series that they did before that, Simon Pegg and Jessica Hines wrote, which is all about being in your early to mid 20s, living with friends in apartment and found family, and and struggling to survive in life and all of that.
Mhm.
And I remember it was about 2 years ago. I went back and watched it because I loved it. I loved Space. I watched Space when I was about 18 years old, and I was like, this speaks to me. And then watching it again when I was about 28, 29, 30, and I was like, I'm beyond this point in my life now. This is quite interesting. And
I just imagine you saying these things out loud to the TV.
completely.
So I am beyond this point in my life. Honey, are you okay? Nothing, just
It's
realization.
mild existential crisis.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just watching this and like the things that they're worrying about and the things that they're concerned about and fighting for, and I'm just like, that is just not a concern of mine anymore. It's just fascinating. Like, just where are we going to live? And, trying to, go from house to house. And don't get me wrong, there are still many people my age and older struggling with the absolute horror that is the rental sector in so many places. It's horrendous. But still, there were certain aspects of that. But even now, going to Shaun of the Dead, where I have now overtaken that in life, where that is a film about being in your late 20s, going, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Where am I going from here?
Mhm.
And it was still one of my favorite films. I watched it in the cinema when it first came out. I was about 15. Amazing. But then going back and watching it, having gone beyond 28, 29, and I'm watching it going, I now am beyond this. But it's so fascinating, and like just seeing, just having that kind of moment in life of seeing where you are. Look at where you are. Look at where you started. Little Hamilton. But the fact that you're alive is a miracle.
Just let him have it. Let him have it.
Yeah. Have to do. But yeah, no, it's just funny watching Shaun of the Dead now and going, wow, I have. I'm still trying to sort out my life in a lot of ways, but there are a lot of aspects of it where I'm like, no, I'm actually past this point now, and I'm currently kind of in the moment of hot fuzz of, learning how to not work so friggin' much and learn how to switch off and learn how to actually live and enjoy the quiet life a little bit. And I look forward to the day when I look at World's End, because that's still ahead of me. I still look at World's End and going, I'll get there at some point, where I'm looking back at my whole life up until that point going, shit, those were really good days, weren't they? It's.
I gotta rewatch the Cornetto trilogy because I think I'm somewhere between.
They're so good.
Yeah, somewhere between Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, somewhere in the.
It's funny. So Shaun of the Dead is my favorite of them.
Same.
I think it's the best film thematically and everything that it does. Hot Fuzz is much funnier. It's much more obviously funny, and it's much more. It has a much broader appeal, I think, than all three of them. And where a lot of people tend to stumble on World's End and kind of they're but it's not as good. The thing about World's End, which I think is just brilliant, is that there's a moment in the World's End that is infinitely more powerful than in the other two movies. And we're including the bit where he has to shoot his own zombified mum. But that moment, that ultimate spoilers for World's End, by the way. I should have given spoilers for Shaun of the Dead there. He shoots his mum.
Yeah,
It's over 10
completely
years.
ruined for so many people.
It's like 10 years old, isn't it?
Yeah, people just
Shaun-
rediscover
Shaun of the
Metallica.
Dead-
Don't worry about it.
Shaun of the Dead is nearly 20 years old.
Oh, no. I meant World's End.
World's End's 10 years old.
Yeah.
But-
Shaun of the Dead's like, what, 04 or something like that?
04, yeah. But with World's End, just that entire idea of, this guy who just didn't make it out of his 20s. He didn't even make it out of his teens, He was just chasing that dragon, trying to relive those golden days. And that moment at the end where it's revealed that he's been actually in an institution all this time, and that he has bandages around his wrists, and that this guy Gary King, who was just the coolest. I mean, obviously you're watching this going, this guy's fucking delusional, but like who he thought himself to be so cool.
Yes.
It's just so deeply tragic and pathetic. It's just it just kills me every time.
That's the best part about that trilogy is that not one of those movies is the same, yet is completely, if not obscenely accurate and true to life. Where you're going, that's exactly what would happen. By the way, I'm going to rephrase that question going forward. It's going to be, what was the first time you said?
Fuck them kids.
That's pretty much all that's going to.
What was that?
Said fuck them kids.
Yeah.
I feel like that's in somewhere.
Previous guest of ours.
Yes. It's a great line.
Fair enough.
Okay, so we have a couple more things. Do you have some more time, John?
Yeah, sure.
You're okay? Alice, you're okay for time too?
Should be fine.
Yes, okay. So first, if we can, John, I know you have a ridiculous amount of subscribers and everything, but please, where can everyone find you on the internet so they can like, share, and subscribe your content as well, please?
You can find me at John D Ruddy on Instagram, YouTube, Patreon.
Definitely.
Support my work on Patreon monetarily. Also, you can find me on Twitter, on Twitch. I haven't been doing much on Twitch yet, but watch this space. But yeah, they're the main ones. YouTube obviously is the big one. Then Instagram, Twitter. I'm probably forgetting something. Also, you can go to johndruddy.com to find loads of photos of my random gigs, and you can find Manny Man merchandise there and all sorts of stuff. I've got posters, and I've got a hoodie of all like the 40. How many is there now? 45 presidents. That wasn't a dog whistle. That was there have been 45 presidents, 46 presidencies, because Grover Cleveland was the 22nd and 24th president.
Yes,
I think so. Yeah.
He had somebody in the middle. So
That
Benjamin
that
Harrison
was
was in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, what's that?
Benjamin Harrison was between him, the two.
Yes.
He apparently when they left the first time, I think it was either his wife or his daughter told the staff like, "Don't worry about us, we'll be back," or something like that. Like,
oh God.
I'm guessing that's like a game of telephone type of thing. Like,
oh, of course. There's so many great stories in history, and you always wonder is like which one of these are actually true. Like obviously the big events 100%, but like there's all of those. I love those little anecdotes. There's a great one. There was a guy his name was Theobald Wolfe-Tone. He was known as the father of Irish republicanism, and not
hell of a
not like American republicanism, as in we want a republic in Ireland.
Yeah.
And in 1798 there was a rebellion. He ended up getting captured and was sentenced to death for treason or whatever it was. Probably
as one is. Yes.
Yeah, and he wanted soldier death by firing squad, and they were like, "No, we're going to hang you because you're a traitor." And he's like, "Well, fine then," and he slit his throat in jail.
Damn.
But they went in and, well, at least this is the story, that they went in and tried to suture him up, to make sure that they could hang him. And the orderly there was like, right, well, he's he can survive, but if he ever speaks again, it'll kill him. To which he responds, "So be it." And, and he died. But
that's incredible.
Such is the story. Whether
it's a great story.
It's a great story. It's a great story.
That is a great story.
Yeah.
I was thinking more the Earl of Sandwich or fornication under consent of the king, but sure, that one works too, John. Why do you have to just make it sound so fancy? I don't know. That's why you should follow him, everyone. That's fair. So the last question we have, which I'm sure. What? Oh, for us.
Find us at Generation Dan on Twitter, at Generation_Dan on Instagram. Find me at Atlas Novak, Twitter, Instagram, or my other show at Nexus at Night. That's a better trading card game.
I challenge you.
Branding.
Yeah.
I challenge you to come find me. How about that? Bring it, okay? You can find me. I'm in Canada. Hunt me down. Go for it. I am the biggest predator in
most dangerous game. Yeah,
definitely. Let's do this. You know what? I need content. I need more content that's not Lego based or comedy based. I'm trying to expand my empire. So
you're all going to come to Canada. Get their Timmies.
And then follow Caleb, who's not here, at Caleb C. McDuff on Twitter.
Yeah, but was here for the last 2 episodes. So,
yeah.
But I wasn't.
I don't know if this Caleb guy exists or not. I can't vouch for him.
John, your Canadian impression is spectacular. Spectacular.
Yeah. Oh, actually, what? Just two seconds. 2 seconds.
Yes.
Okay,
it's been hilarious.
Yes.
There you go.
Jersey.
Oh my God. When you're
Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Canada's finest. I was in I was in Winnipeg a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, I'm gonna buy a hockey jersey. I've never been to a Jets game in my life, but I was I want a hockey jersey, so I got a Jets jersey.
Absolutely. Listen, I would tell you that I saw you in Winnipeg, and I'm like, that sucks, because I'm like, Winnipeg is far from me. But at the same time, I'm like, hey, Winnipeg, there's nothing to do. Good job. So that's one of the things is if you go to like an OHL game, which would be like where like their farm league, that's where like it's younger guys who are still fighting for their shot. So it's way more intense.
They're not throwing away their
shot.
No. They're committing to everything. Like everything is at 100%. Like, and it's and that's not only for the violence, that's also for the gameplay. I'll tell you that. It's for the personal interaction. You can see, and also too, like it's like $15 and you're 2 rows away from the boards. It's definitely something to invest in.
I've been to one hockey game in my life, and that was in Belfast. Belfast has a hockey team called the Belfast Giants, and probably about 60% of the team were Canadian, and the others were Swiss and Swedish, and
standard for all of America, sir. Don't worry. That's just how it is. Okay, so then the last question we have before we go into our next segment was most memorable set. So this is essentially any sort of performance, not necessarily that was really good, but just mostly that
good,
stands
bad,
out in your memory.
Crazy, anything.
Yeah.
Well, I think I answered that with that Star Wars game, man.
I think so.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh shit! Yeah, I knew you told me there were 4 4 questions. I forgot to prepare this one.
Well, because like the way I worded it when we were talking was craziest thing that's happened like on the job.
Yeah, craziest thing that's happened on the job. Oh,
which has been this entire fucking episode.
Yeah, I know. Because last time you answered with like Hitler offing himself, and I had to draw that.
That's right. Oh my god. Yeah. Well, actually. So there have been some times whenever I'm doing shows. So I have a stage version Manny Man Does History. And
Right.
it's Manny Man Does the History of Ireland on stage, which is 75 minutes of an absolute roller coaster ride through Irish history, where myself and my fellow star Louise Conahan, she's one of the funniest people. Oh my God, you just need to get Louise Conahan onto this show. She's hilarious.
Let's do it.
She's an actor based in Belfast, but she's from good old Donegal as well, and she's hilarious. But she. But yeah, so during that show, what's really cool about doing that show is in different parts of Ireland, different moments in the show will have a different resonation because there's different parts of the history happen in the different places. And so like down in Wexford, we start talking about Vikings, we start talking about the 1798 rebellion. They're like, hey, that's us. So, you know, in Donegal, they're like, oh, Flight of the Earls. Oh, that was us. Or in Dublin, they're like, oh yeah, half of the friggin' story. Shut up. Oh yeah. Everything revolves around Dublin. Great. But there was a moment. Now I'll say this. This is a much more somber moment, but it was electric. So we were doing the show in Derry, which for anybody who doesn't know is a city in Northern Ireland, and has had a very troubled past throughout the Troubles, as they're known. For anybody who wants a kind of a crash course chilled guide into it, watch Derry Girls. It's available.
I've seen that show. It's so good.
It's hilarious. It's so good. And it's kind of classic Irish in the way of, you know, what better way to address this absolutely horrendous moment in history with teenage girls laughing over it, you know. But no, Derry is a great city, and there were loads of moments throughout history. But leading up to that show, I was so intimidated because I was just like, because the moment where I get to talking about the Troubles in the show, you know, I don't joke about that. You know, I'm like, that's not, there are a couple of moments where, you know, I choose not to. You know, I don't joke about the famine, don't joke about the Troubles, and but I was like, here I am, this at the time 30-year-old, about to tell the people of Derry what happened in the Troubles, you know. It's just like,
it's like mansplaining the history to
them. And I was just like, oh God.
No glass bottles in the facility, please. Just no.
And so you know, we were getting to that moment where we were about to go into that section of the show, and I was just like, oh, because then there is a specific bit in it where we talk about Bloody Sunday, which is horrendous. You know, people will know the U2 song Sunday, Bloody Sunday. And some people will also know the song Zombie by Cranberries, where a lot of people don't realize that is a song about the Troubles in Northern Ireland. It's a song about about these atrocities becoming so commonplace that people just become numb to this news, which sadly is something that I think a lot of Americans are finding with so much of the gun violence at the moment. It's horrendous. It's just this: we've become zombies that we just, another bomb, another killing, you know. So this was all the kind of weight of this. And so Bloody Sunday in Derry was there was a peaceful protest going on, that civil rights protest in 1972, and the British Army ended up opening fire on them and killed 13 or 14 people. And it was horrific. It's one of the darkest days in Irish history. It's horrendous. And I was there in this theater, in the Playhouse Theater in Derry, which is literally 10-minute walk from where this happened. And I'm just like, oh,
Oh.
but it was, you know, it was powerful, and I used that energy, and like, you know, and the way that I tell it in the show as well. So like, because a lot of the show is big and wild and playing different characters and making fun of things, but I was like, how do I do this? And so I kind of chose. I'm going to. I almost kind of took this, and how would you explain this to a child? And so I, as my character explained to Louise's character, and she was very innocent character and just kind of going, oh, I didn't realize this was the way. And so I explained, you know, yeah. And in Derry, you know, British forces opened fire on unarmed civilians in a protest, killing 14 people. And that too became known as Bloody Sunday. And like, just the energy in the theater was just this. It was electric, you know. It was powerful. It was, and I had people coming up to me afterwards, you know, because like, this is the thing, you know. Not only are you within walking distance from where it happened, but like, there's people in the audience who very well may have been there,
or had friends who were there, or
family,
siblings
family
who were murdered in it. You know? Like. And I'm just like, I want to do this justice. I don't, you know, and some people came up to me afterwards and they said that was powerful. That was really good. It was very well done. And I was very proud of that. And what was really nice about bringing it around different areas around Ireland, and particularly going around Northern Ireland, because there are still some places in Northern Ireland that would be very much kind of one ways of political persuasion or the other. So like in Coleraine, for example, it would tend to be a bit more of the kind of unionist persuasion, kind of more pro-Britain. And we did the show there as well. And a couple came up to me afterwards, and I do keep the narrative as kind of balanced as I can.
Yeah.
And I had a couple come up to me after, as an older couple, and they were like, do you know, we didn't quite know what to expect going into this, and initially we were kind of like, oh, is this the right thing, that what we chose to come see? But then like, we come to the moments where and they were like, you know, you did a really good job of it, and you told it from both sides in a very good way. So that was something I was quite proud of. And I hope to bring that show back out on the road again. We toured it we premiered it this time, oh my God, 4 years ago now, in 2018. And then we toured it in 2019. And then we were supposed to bring it to Wisconsin, to what do you call it? Milwaukee Irish Fest in the summer of 2020. But then 2020 happened.
I don't know what you're talking about, John. I have no.
And then this spring, we were in talks and bringing it to an Irish culture festival in March in Moscow.
Oh, well.
But then that happened. So
There's a lot of jokes that we can make about Irish people in Moscow, I feel, and I think in this day and age, I've already hit that limit for this episode on things I can get away with. So,
I feel like this is probably a good place to stop.
well, you know, let's be honest. I think that we, Atlas and I, and Generation Dan should be proud that we've introduced the rest of the universe to, most notably, the man with the biggest testicular fortitude in all of Ireland, if not the continent of Europe, John D Ruddy, for being able to say that stuff in those areas. Because God, I would not have. I just felt like, well, I'm gonna skip it. Let's. Can we perform outside of the town limits? Maybe that's.
I'll give you one more. There was another show, a similar show about Irish history that I was doing a couple of years before that, and one of the moments. So the thing about Derry as well is that it has a contentious name, in that some. I'll say it, most people call it Derry, but officially within the kind of British establishment, it is Londonderry. It was renamed in the 1600s as part of the plantation. And so generally kind of pro-British unionists would call it Londonderry, and other people would call it Derry.
Dick. That's
it. And we'll say no more. But there was a show. We were doing it in Belfast. It was all about the Easter Rising, the big rebellion in 1916. And it was the two characters who were telling the story. One was an Irish Republican from Dublin, and one was a unionist from Belfast. And so the first guy, and we did this show in Belfast, and one of the opening lines was the guy was saying, he's talking about one of our other shows about the Siege of Derry, and I shout out, Londonderry! And there was a guy in the audience who just shouts out, fucking Derry here. And I was just like, okay, that's how this show is going to be going. And I was waiting backstage to come out wearing an Orange Order sash and a big drum singing, it was hard, but it was good. There's a very contentious organization that's pro-Britain, and if there's someone in the audience who's willing to shout out fucking Derry here, they may not take too kindly to someone coming out in an orange sash. And I was like, this could be a fun show. And
let's call Blitz. Let's call Blitz on the play.
No, it was a great show, and they thoroughly enjoyed it. But
oh man, dude. Well, thank you so much, John D. Ruddy, for coming on Generation.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh no, this has been fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is one of the great things. But yeah, so like, comment, and also check out John D. Ruddy's stuff, everyone, because it is absolutely
that'll
fantastic.
be down in the description /show notes.
Absolutely, we'll put links and everything. We're gonna try and get back to doing clips. That's on me.
He was on vacation, and I'm lazy.
So. Also, I knew there was one more thing that I should mention is my podcast, because I too have a podcast.
Please. Yes,
called Where Many Have Gone Before. And it is all about you watching Star Trek for the very first time.
Yes. By the way, have you started doing that? Because I've been watching all of your stuff, and I'm like, hey, where's the thing? Is it just an audio, or what is it?
It's audio at the moment, although I am planning on putting up video for... I'm going to do an illustration from each episode as a visual to chuck it up on YouTube. But I'm going to start putting them up on YouTube. Awesome. Probably on a separate channel, and also, but yeah, once I get my studio up and running again, because that show has been on hiatus for a year now.
Because we talked about it last time, and I was like, "Hi, buddy, listen."
No, we'll definitely get you in, but I need space. I need physical space, and I need mental space to get it back up and running again.
Yes. That's totally reasonable. Anyways, this has been Generation Dan, everyone. Please like, comment, subscribe, and follow us, and we will be back. Yeah, tell a friend, tell your employer. Listen, it's a great way to quit. Be like, these guys told me to. Boom, right in the face, and then run. Run very fast.
Bye.
Bye.